My name is Richard, and I cared for my wife for something like perhaps 9 years through various stages of her illness, which was frontal-lobular dementia. Early onset. She was only about 57 when she first got the illness. So I was thankfully able to manage to care for Helen at home. Well, there were difficult times. She was generally a very cooperative, gentle kind of a person. I was probably lucky in where I was located in South Dublin, and I suppose I was able to pay for things, you know, to help to look after Helen. But anyway, I was impressed that I got what I would consider very good interest and care from people like the team of the Memory Clinic in St. James's Hospital, and the team in St. Patrick's Hospital. Then we had an excellent care worker from the rehab group who came a number of days a week, and then on the other days I was able to bring Helen for daycare to the Alzheimer's Society's daycare centre in Blackrock in County Dublin. So with all that help I was getting, we were able to continue for a good few years, but Helen's condition was, of course, progressively deteriorating. She seemed to be going down in steps every few years. There were certain things that concerned her. She was prone to falling very easily and getting cuts and bruises, mostly thankfully minor, but I knew some of them could be more serious, but thankfully it didn't happen. But we also lived near a busy road, and that was always a worry in case she'd get out on the road. She also developed swallowing difficulties, where it was difficult for her to swallow her food, so we had to go on special foods and food supplements to help keep her reasonably nourished, well nourished. So, but at some stage along the way, we were recommended to the Carew Centre in St. Vincent's Hospital, and we went there, and Helen was assessed at various stages. And eventually it was recommended that we should seek long-term care for Helen because of her condition, and that, you know, she would only continue to deteriorate. So we looked around at a number of nursing homes, and it was difficult to decide on which one might be more suitable for Helen. Not all of them cover dementia patients. But as it happened, we, I think through the Carew Centre, were informed of a vacancy at a HSE facility, for which Helen would seem to prove suitable, and it was recommended we should take that up. And so Helen did eventually move there then. Before she did so, there was a support group, transition group, set up in the Carew Centre for a number of us who had our loved ones going into long-term care. And this was very helpful, and I'd recommend any carer to try and seek or ask for such a support group if they can get it, because it's very helpful to learn of the experiences of others and to know others are in maybe much worse situation than you are. And it helps in this kind of dramatic move away from the home environment where you maybe have been for the last 40 years into where your loved one is in long-term care. Well, then Helen moved into this HSE residential care, and that proved very successful, and Helen seemed to fit in very well and seemed to be happy and well adjusted there. And the staff were lovely, and some of the other patients were very nice and friendly too, and we became friendly with those, and it was nice to be able to do that. There was the added advantage that Helen, while she did not talk much at this stage, or if at all, she seemed very interested in all the activities, so there was much more activity around her in the nursing home than there would be, we'll say, in the home environment. So she liked to watch all these activities. It was a very well-designed building where it was built around an enclosed garden where patients could freely go in and out of, and there was a sheltered, arcaded area in the garden, so it was very pleasant. The staff, and Irish and various nationalities, were lovely and very good and very friendly, and then we found it anyway very helpful to realise that Helen was now in a safe place and in good hands. It had the added advantage you had more than one person to care for her, where sometimes at home it was proving difficult for one person just to manage the various tasks that you have to do with such patients. So we could almost come and go as we pleased virtually, and we'd come often to help out at meal times, as giving her meal was sometimes a slow task because of our swallowing issues. And other members of the family could more or less come or go fairly freely, and it was a very happy environment, and I have happy memories of her there. I suppose the personal responsibility was lifted from me, and now I could, if you like, go to her and spend a lot of time with her in a very nice, relaxed atmosphere. It was almost like sometimes being in a hotel on a holiday. So that proved very good, and it was the right stage for Helen at that time. Well, if I was to give a carer, I suppose one piece of advice, it would be that, well, seek, when you're looking after your loved one at home, seek all the help and support you can get. It is out there. Sometimes you have to really search it out. But one thing can lead to another. And when you do get help, try to latch onto it, if you like, and be cooperative with people and with even the authorities that are there to provide these supports. And I think acknowledge their good work, which is often maybe not acknowledged. But it's necessary, I think, at some stage, and you'll nearly know that stage, to consider long-term care. A lot of people, I think, are reluctant to go to that stage, but it may be that your loved one needs that security and safety of a long-term care where there are professionals who know how to care for such a person. You may not have a fallback position if you get ill or anything happens. So I would strongly advise that even though you may be reluctant to do it after 30 or 40 years of marriage, it's still very important, I think, for the sake of your loved one and your own sake, to consider that at some stage it may be the right thing to do. And I think, in my experience, it was a good thing to do, and I was very much relieved and happy that Helen had, in her final years, a very happy environment to live in.